But I can tell you that as we speak today, the economy is stronger, is robust. You are aware of how high fuel prices were a year ago. You can see how we have even reduced fuel year on year as we speak in our inflation. Month on month.
Can you politicians ever be honest on some of these? This
is a very honest. This is a very honest reflection. This is a very, very honest reflection.
Nana has some reflection. So
please go ahead.
In a bit.
I mean, Moody,
you don't say politicians.
Moody rates.
Doc, let's listen. Let's hear it out.
Moody gives our ratings, and we accept the ratings. If it's negative, we accept it. If it's positive, we accept it. Why is it that when
the same way you accepted it when they were downgrading you, that one they
didn't accept it. You said they were not correct.
So I mean, I think that there are true reflections.
Folks, let me do my second paper.
You didn't make
you want
no, I just wanted to say something.
I had an opportunity to
let Nanaya. I think she may have a reaction to what.
Ben, you said something. You say you politician, you should be able to.
Well, some politicians.
No. You see, there's a government in power, and Paul Gray belongs to that government. So if you are talk about MPP in government,
Nanaya,
we are all
politicians of different.
No, we are all politicians. I'm saying that it is not the same.
Like a broken record.
So don't say you politicians. Say that your government, the politicians in the MPP government. You said it when Moody downgraded us. They said Moody doesn't have the requisites this thing to downgrade. Their data is not correct. They said all that. Today you are saying that the outlook is good. They are even saying outlook. They are not saying that government is good. They say outlook.
No, but we knew that the economy had recovered even before.
Do you buy fuel? Fuel is 70 cedis a gallon.
I buy fuel every single day.
And how you can fill your tank. And then that is the point. So let's leave it.
I paid 400 Ghana cedis to fill my tank.
Okay, thank you. So there's one story.
How many liters do you use for your tank?
Oh, I use a small car. It's a small VW that I use.
Because I use 1.6 liters, one of the smallest.
Mine is about 1.4.
And what you are saying, I don't know.
But if you use a small car, it's not everybody who uses
something.
No, I use a very small car. I fill my tank for 400 Ghana.
You cannot use your own.
You fill your tank for 400 Ghana. I use a small car, Dr. Togo, but now 400 cedis doesn't fill my tank.
Depends on the car that you use.
What kind of car is it? Is it a motorbike or what?
400 cedis will not.
No.
400
it will not fill anywhere close to
I want to see have the smallest car among the.
No, but 400.
So just help us. What kind of car do you drive?
I drive a VW.
VW what?
VW Polo, small Polo.
A Polo.
Fill your tank for 400 Ghana cedis.
Small car. It's a very.
No, maybe it's a motorbike.
Let's do one more story.
The consumption is very low.
So everybody should drive a Polo because you are driving a Polo.
That's what I've said. But then you're asking me how much.
No, I am saying so you cannot use your own as an indicator.
Yes, but
there are people who have big cars. There are people who work outside the car.
You can let us know how much you fill your tanks for.
I know that when you use a big car.
Let us know. Okay, Doc.
I can't even fill my car.
So the custodian newspaper now, just
you
one
know
story.
The car is. Have you bought me a car?
EC keeps trust. And that story is on page 3. The Electoral Commission has given details of all the polling centers that would be used for the 2024 general election as part of efforts to maintain transparency and credibility of the electoral process, as well as keep trust with the people of Ghana. It published and announced that 40,975 polling centers will be used for the December 2024 election, presidential and parliamentary election. And this is in line with Regulation 18, Clause 1 of Public Elections Regulation 2020, which stipulates that for the purpose of taking the poll, all designated places to be used as polling stations for electoral elections shall be published on the website of the Commission, and a copy of the publication shall, within 60 days to an election, be given to political parties and any candidates contesting the election. I actually checked, and it's on their websites. They've published that. So I just wanted to bring this into light because there's a lot of controversy surrounding the EC's credibility and integrity. So if they're delivering on their mandates, publishing polling centers and doing all that, that's something we can commend. And that's the last story I'm doing here. Benjamin.
The unfortunate bit is that because of some internet issues this morning, we are not streaming live, because if we were, I would have loved to hear people's responses. I don't think if you were even using a tico today, which you don't see anyway, but if you were using a tico today,
don't waste. The time is going. So he said he drives a VW. He doesn't even know that a VW consumes, no matter how small.
Ben wants to do his papers last. So Nana, let's get into yours.
Okay, so we are not commenting on those ones.
No.
Right?
The EC, if you have a comment on that.
But EC says all manner of things and they do things, differently. I have a picture here. Nanado is laughing when Galamsey is killing us here. He's happy laughing. He's happy. Look at this picture. It doesn't show somebody who is worried about Galamsey. Okay. Group defense.
What? So the president can't.
Oh, please.
The president cannot be excited about
He's excited because he doesn't. I'm not excited. I won't be excited about anything in this condition that we are. In this situation, but look at him. He's hale and hearty. It's nice. It's good. Beautiful smile. But we are suffering. Group defense.
And this is the Ghanaian publisher.
Yeah, the Ghanaian publisher. Group defense. I don't know what is it with this man. It's all over the place. He said he's embezzled 2 million Ghana cedis and he has resigned. Yeah. If he's embezzled, then they should prosecute him. If truly, why should he resign? Just like that.
Well,
this is truly true.
Their image has been.
Yeah, because it doesn't. I just saw it. They didn't give any reason for him. Resigning though.
But have you followed the story?
No, I haven't.
It talks about one person saying that he wanted a loan. I think he's a cashew. He's in the cashew industry. He needed a loan urgently, up to the tune of about 12 million Ghana cedis. And supposedly he paid over 2 million cedis in some sort of kickback to the board chair. And that demand had been made over time of him. And yes, in Sotra Ponchenia, and eventually he had got to the point where he had now taken it up, and I think he had brought it up and he wanted the money back. But it also goes down to, and I'm not accusing the Kwewuman Henry of anything. Let the systems do that. There are systems in place. But I'm saying that whole bit about banks and maybe you can get a loan if you know the right people whose hands you can grease and all of that. I'm not saying that is the case, but those things ought to be.
So I have a student.
But Nanaya, the final bit, you were asking why has he? No. On that bit, you were asking why has he resigned? Is it not also in the corporate ethics? The bank will bleed from this. They were suffering the effects, stakeholders and all of that. Is it not right? Though he's not been cleared or, convicted,
that's what I'm
for
saying.
him to resign. It's the right thing.
No, I'm saying that if the man, nobody has told us that the man has been prosecuted based on this. The giver and the taker are both guilty. This is about a bribe. Inducement. It's not about he taking money like from the bank. So if we are dealing with corruption, bribery and corruption, then this man has taken a bribe, if that is what it is.
Exactly.
And there are laws regarding that to the loan. So there's no ESLA. Because when ESLA was done, it was meant to deal with some of the issues we are seeing where the utilities would need money to do certain things. Now, ESLA is
but we are doing Doom CSC and it comes with...
No, Doom CSC...
I don't think they are even experiencing any of those.
Paul, are you not in Ghana?
I am. No, you see,
you have a generator.
When your power goes
automatic switch
an
over.
Hour or two, it's not Doomsaw, it's neither Doom CSA. It may be a localized issue, but I haven't experienced.
And it's rampant.
In the neighborhood that I live in, I haven't.
Where do you live?
I should put that on national television.
But then you say they don't bring your neighborhood.
Well, in the neighborhood that I live in.
No, but maybe they know you live there because seriously, we are all experiencing it.
He inadvertently mentioned when he was talking about the accident.
He mentioned it
in a way. Constituencies as well that are closer to my constituency that I live in. I don't see any of those things. Let's not.
But you are not in Ghana.
I am in Ghana.
No, I don't think
am in Ghana. I live here. I drove from home to come
I don't think. I
didn't fly from.
I don't think.
Have you experienced any power outage?
Yes, for 2 hours last night, I didn't have power.
It came on
sometimes 4 hours.
After 2 hours.
Yeah,
mine was
the point is that
no, you see
the light
the idea.
I'm home, so I cannot.
That's another thing.
That as an
there are times have been,
No,
and I can always
the
tell you
the idea of wanting to push that there is doomsaw or there is doomsay.
no one is.
The lights are going off.
I'm just saying that in recent times, a lot of people
there can be a localized issue. It can be a localized issue.
Where I live, other places, people keep saying, the lights are going off because for some months. It wasn't really, but now it started, and in 2 weeks, if I've had power outages 4 times.
I don't experience that.
Okay.
And I don't have a plant as Nanaya is suggesting.
Okay.
Yes, I live
because
in a local environment.
But we go off.
We have limited time. Let's get
The last round, it was 6 to 12.
Ghanaian lives in.
6 to 12.
So the Republic Press front page says economy is back on track. One of the positive stories that you can have on the Republic Press, as Moody talks about the stable to positive outlook. There are inconsistencies about the car crash. Some say 4 people.
Some say 8.
Some say guy reported
dead. Cynthia Morrison.
Say 3 girls. You mentioned 2.
Yes. So the car had 3 girls and a driver. Okay, and
but some say 3 perished. The girls.
Yes,
That's
so
another.
I'm aware. I'm 12, 11 years old. Yeah, I mean,
from one parent.
I think the ones that I'm aware that died, as my children told me, were different parents, but they are in the same community or school. And so it's been very, very sad. I've been watching their status this morning, and there are lots of things that are ongoing. But maybe we can just read the story of the 4 crash, because it says that devastating car accident occurred at Saturday, East Legon, resulting in the death of 4 individuals. The crash, which alleged a speeding Jaguar and an Acura, has sent shockwaves through the community. Eyewitnesses claim the Jaguar, allegedly driven by the popular pastor Salifo Mwakon, was traveling at an excessive speed before colliding head-on with the Acura. The impact was so severe that both vehicles crashed into an electric pole, sparking a fiery inferno that engulfed both cars. Videos of the crash captured by nearby CCTV cameras went viral on social media over the weekend, fueling widespread outrage and speculations. There are some social media reactions. Rumors surrounding the incident spread rapidly on social media platforms, with many users expressing condolences and others demanding justice. And then some demands from the community of East Legon. I also have the positive outlook, which I think all of us have spoken about very strongly this morning. And I also see that Juventus, who is the first Ghanaian deaf lawyer, also was called to the bar, which is a lot of commendation.
Is he going to have facilities at the court?
We can. I think those facilities
they are there.
made very available.
I think you could also do the story. My Joy Online has it. Please flip to the page before.
Which one?
I think those who do well should be celebrated. Bolt drivers' honesty wins praise. And
Yeah. Both drivers.
Have you seen that story?
No,
Maybe you
drew
can
my
just take a
just drew
swipe.
my attention.
He doesn't take
Albert Kwanzaa, a Bolt driver in Ghana, I use Bolt sometimes, has captured the hearts of many with extraordinary display of honesty after a passenger mistakenly transferred 38,000 to his mobile money account. I don't know, 38,000 mobile money takes about 50,000.
Yeah.
So how does
There
that
were repeated
transfers? Okay. Well, we commend him. I think this.
So the person was trying to transfer it to another person, mistakenly kept transferring it to him. And then when they reached out, he said, he showed them where he was. He stopped, waited. They came and met him. He even left his phone with a person that he has 2 phones, but the other phone may go off. And he left his phone with a person to continue transferring back to him. Himself and all that. So
it's commendable. I mean, I think that we've seen some of these.
In fact, you can watch him tell the story himself. Noella hosted him on Talk No the Cook Rice, one of our podcasts for Mean House. You can find it on YouTube and get all the details.
I think that, recently we see a lot of people being kind. Well, Baumia's solution to Galamsey is the most practical that I've heard. Nanaba, I've seen that making a lot of waves. You can find that in a manifesto over here in terms of the bold solutions and selfless leadership that we have. Baumia in Napo, perfect match to move Ghana forward. That is from Kokofu. Let me go to the Daily Searchlight. ADB board chairman resigns following expose. I think much has been spoken about it. It would be good for ADB to bring out a statement so we can be able to know what is going on.
They have put out a statement in respect of the resignation.
Okay. Jospong Group to help Ugandan government tackle waste management. STEM innovation begins today, 2024. I see that McDan is talking about thinking globally, acting locally. GRA exceeds revenue target. First 3 quarters of 2024. The board chair has said that.
Who is the board chair?
The board chair is the former Minister for Railway, Joe Gate, and then talks about the Citizen app, which was launched last week, which is a data interoperability app that is ongoing. I think the Indian politician Baba Siddiq was shot dead in Mumbai. Our condolences to him. All major development projects in Banda have been through the MPP. The Omahin says that very strongly. Scale up savings to domestically mobilize revenue for development. Nanaye's favorite, Deputy Bank of Ghana Governor, my favorite as well. STEM Innovation 2024 begins today. We are wholeheartedly behind you, Banda Traditional Council, to Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And this would be my stories for this morning.
Okay, so I have just a few minutes. I'm going to run you through the headlines. 8 killed, others injured in 2 separate gruesome road crashes. And that one has to do with the Kumasi stretch alone. 8 persons were killed and several others injured in 2 gory road crashes at, well, there's East Legon actually in Accra and Akedie in the Kumasi-Accra Highway in the Ashanti region. That place name, I always decide to pronounce it a certain way. At East Legon, a 4x4 Acura, it goes on and on, but we've already dealt with that story. 6 grabbed for alleged land encroachment, improper sand winning in Accra. And sand winning is another thing. As we talk Galamsey, sand winning and where it is done and how it's done. That one is an Accra, mainly, not just Accra, but here, many parts of, the region are affected. Parliament reconvenes tomorrow as government seeks to revoke Environmental Protection Regulations 2023. How we could go through with LI 2462, only God knows. Any country that is thinking. But of course, the processes that some of these things go through. So before it gets to the floor of Parliament, and that is something else we ought to look at in terms of our legal framework, how things go before they get to Parliament, because sometimes lobbyists and people funding political parties can have their way with these things. There's also Catholics CMCR Ghana call for immediate halt to illegal mining. I was at that protest on Friday, and proudly so, and we shall keep pushing. On the back page, there's Black Stars off to Libya for dicey second leg tie with Sudan. So now we are 7 points adrift of leaders Angola. 7 points adrift of them after their latest win. And we're struggling with Sudan.
Yeah, I'm not even looking at it. I don't want to get a heartache.
You don't want to get heartache?
No.
Then the news center is where I'll end. We paid Oliver Bakavomo's hospital bill. That's according to the police. Road crashes kill 1,817 people in 9 months, an increase of 8.35%. Coca urges SDA church members to vote on December 7th, and Republic Bank unveils lowest mortgage interest rate. But there's also 777, that's an interesting number, new lawyers called to the bar, including Malik Dabu, Louis Autry, and our very own Philip Osei Bonsu,
Obi.
who is here with us in the multimedia group, Ekosiseng. We congratulate all of them and all of those who graduated, including Marie Antoinette Anefi and all those others who graduated over the weekend, if you want to call it that. That's it for my batch of papers. Maybe 20 seconds each, final words, and we're out of here. Nanaya,
I just want
20 seconds, brief, straight to the point.
I just wanted to know what the Chief Justice meant by lawyers going on demonstration. Lawyers are also...
I didn't want to get into that. You're attempting...
No, because lawyers are also Ghanaians. I needed more clarity on
She
it.
talks somewhere about lawyers not engaging in things that's socially, economically, and all of that affects the country. Lawyers must not be part of activities that destroy the national economy, whether it is the political economy, the environmental economy, or the social economy. But I don't think what she's trying to say, I don't want to think that, because the Constitution gives every Ghanaian the right to demonstrate. So I don't want to go in there because
my father was a lawyer. Nanado is a lawyer, and they both had gone through demonstrations. Plenty.
Your point is made. Paul Grave.
Well, 54 days to the election. I would want to commend the Ghanaian people for listening and following the flag bearer of the new patriotic party, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and ask that our policies are very robust, very practical, very objective, and on 7th of December, they should look nowhere else but to look at number 1 on the ballot and to vote for Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as the next president of the Republic of Ghana.
Those who joined us for this conversation, Sweetie Abochi, my colleague, and Nanaya Achepim Jantua, former General Secretary of the CPP, also having been with the PURC, Dr. Paul Grave Wache Dankwa. He is government spokesperson on governance and security, and yours truly. I think this is where, if I were a musician, I would be like, you know the name, right?
Hey.
For me myself. I wanted to get us all laughing. Let's head into sports up next. Welcome back. These are the big stories on the AM show. And Ghana's credit ratings outlook has been upgraded from stable to positive by Moody's, a global credit rating agency, citing extensive debt treatment that has enormously curtailed the government's financial burdens. But what does this mean for Ghana's economy, really? We're delving into that issue with our guests this morning, Dr. Frank Bano. He is head of research at the Dankwa Institute, and he also is a lecturer at GIMPA. And we also have Professor Godfred Bokpin. He's an economist at the University of Ghana Business School. A very good morning to you, gentlemen. A very good morning to you, Prof.
Good morning to our cherished listeners and viewers and my co-panelists.
Right. It's been a while since we had an interaction, Prof. I hope all is well at your end.
By God's grace, we are doing well. I hope you're also doing well.
We're in there. We're coping. Like we say in Ghana, God day, we day. But let me just quickly say this. So as Moody's has come through with this latest upgrade, this latest statement, I'd just like to tease out your quick thoughts on this statement and what it really signifies from CAA2, CAA3, CA. What are the real dynamics and what does this do to our credit rating?
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning once again. I think that the announcement from the ratings agencies really, it's not surprising. It has largely been expected. The reason is that from the day government announced the preemptive debt restructuring, essentially suspending coupon payments debt, these agencies, per their rate methodology, immediately assigned us fixed spot or deep junk status. So per the rating methodology, one from that empty debt restructure, it moves you out of zone to a level that we're for. So the market had anticipated this upgrade. And if that were decision, even though the two has been revised, it is not a significant improvement on the back of which can credit the national capital market. So we still have, let me say, quite a distance ahead of us before we are put to our capital at that be consistent with our management practice. So yes, we can say good news to some extent, but it's not surprising, highly predictable, because we are done with a debt structure. Remember that in the case of Ghana, it was a preemptive debt restructuring because the actual default had to step through the announcement that not pay, right? And then once they take that announcement, it immediately towards your credit worth, and the risk methodology will take that. Okay, so you will see that for almost all the major rating agents, and in fact, they are essentially just a few of them. Okay, they control almost 95% of the market share in the industry, both regionally, valley. Okay, so they certainly assigned us towards discount, and that is consistent to the rating methodology. So once done, and you will see also that when we treated the domestic debt testing, some of the risk agents signal that once Ghana completes the external debt structure, the risk methodology breaks that, and they're able to exit the restrictive default that some of them had placed us to a bit more less. But don't forget that if you look at the scale that where we are not at the investment grade level. Okay, so we are not out of the woods yet. So it will require us to be a bit conscious. Okay, because this is a specific intervention, okay, that has lifted us to this level. You cannot continue to restructure your debt based on a continuous basis to get good rates. There's now a lot that we have to do in terms of governance reforms, fiscal reforms, monetary reforms, that we can consolidate and build on our up to a certain level where we'll be able to assess it at a cheaper rate. I have heard governments in that the completion of the external debt structure means that we go back to the capital market immediately or soon. I advise we adopt a more cautious approach because it hasn't worked out. That is
Prof, so I'm struggling a bit to hear quite a bit of what you're saying, but just the final point that you made, it does not mean what about the capital market? If you could just go back to that point.
Yeah, the mere fact that you have completed the restructuring of your external debt, both external commercial and external bilateral, necessarily does not mean that the market will be receptive to you for new bond issue. It doesn't mean that. That is not how the market works. You need to read the market. You need to read the sentiment of investors. Otherwise, you'll be disappointed. And let me give you an example. In the third quarter of 2021, government was very bullish about market sentiment. And therefore, we went to the market. Okay, the finance minister, the governor of Bank of Ghana went to the market with the objective of going to borrow. But the market rejected us. So Ghana actually lost market access from the third quarter of 2021. Not in 2022, not in 2023. Right. The market had read a much deeper meaning into the fiscal vulnerabilities, the deteriorating economic fundamentals, and they had incorporated that in their decisions. And do you know what happened at that time? At the time that we were bullish about the market, our secondary bonds, our secondary or euro bonds, were actually trading in excess of 1,500 U.S. basis points above U.S. Treasury yields. So the benchmark in terms of largely risk-free instruments is the U.S. Treasury yields. So the difference between the rate at which your bonds, our bonds were trading, and the U.S. Treasury yields is what we call the spread. And the spread alone was in excess of 1,500 basis points. Okay, 1 basis point is 1% of 100. So 1,500 basis points is essentially 15%. So what that means is that we were going to borrow, we would have to borrow at the rate of, let's say, 15% plus U.S. Treasury yield. But the question is, why would you borrow at that expensive rate? So borrowing is a function of both the amount you want and then also the interest rate at which you could access that money. And that has to be consistent with our prudent debt management strategy. So I would advise government to be a bit conscious, read the market, but there's a long way to go. Why am I saying so? We can't go to the market this year. It doesn't look to me realistically that we can go to the market next year because right after the election, whatever government that is in place, there's a long way to put your government in place, your strategy, and communicate that to the market. And don't forget, right after 2025, we move into 2026. That is the final year of our IMF-supported program. That also presents some uncertainty. If you do the fiscal sustainability analysis, you realize that even though we have created fiscal space, let's say debt relief, almost 90% of the debt relief we have gotten from the domestic debt restructuring and then the external debt restructuring, both external bilateral and external commercial, are clustering within the IMF supported program, almost 90%. So what this means is that the IMF, with their debt sustainability framework, did it intentionally to ensure that the release are front-loaded for the period that their program is in place, so that the program can have fiscal space to be able to deliver on its objective. Right. Now, what it also means is that right after the IMF program in 2026, the fiscal vulnerabilities will begin to show up, and investors will price that in their decision, and they may punish us by holding us for higher yield anytime we want to issue an issue. We want to issue bonds. Don't forget, the market is not driven by love. The market is not driven by emotions. It's a market that is driven by risk, and the risk has to be priced and rewarded. So once you come onto the market unattractive, you will be punished. We should know that.
Thank you for those initial comments, Professor Bokpin. Let me bring in Dr. Frank Bano. Dr. Bano, what are your initial thoughts on Moody's upgrade of Ghana as far as our economic outlook is concerned?
To your listeners, and good morning to my colleague, Prof. Bokpin. Yes, I've heard him speak, and just like you rightly put across, Moody's has upgraded Ghana's long-term local and foreign currency issuer rating outlook from the previous levels of the CA3 and CA, to CA2 with a positive outlook. I mean, just like we have been saying over the past few months, that yes, we all agree to the extent that as a country we find ourselves in an economic quagmire, which was driven largely by external and exogenous factors, of which we can rule out. I mean, in terms of looking at the African economic landscape, there are a lot of examples that are born for us to know that indeed these are some of the factors that pushed us to where we are, in addition to other endogenous factors, of course. But what is instructive in this outlook is a stamp to the fact that over the few months we have said that the country is making positive strides in terms of economic recovery, and I mean there have been counter arguments to that fact, and the fact that Moody's has come up with this rating and also alludes to the fact that these rating has been predominantly informed by the current trends in terms of economic growth. I mean, if you read the report, it makes reference specifically to the 6.9% GDP growth rate in the second quarter. It also makes reference to the country's debt restructuring, both the domestic debt, external bilateral commercial debt restructuring, which took place not long ago, with about 90% of our creditors subscribing to restructure their debt, which is bound to give us, I think, about $4.8 billion relief, and about 4.7 billion in terms of fiscal space in the spread in paying the debt. So significantly, I mean, not just to pat ourselves in the back that we have done so well, but I mean, when you see such indicators, it tells you that as a country, yes, both the monetary and fiscal policies that have been put in place is actually yielding results, and for that matter, the international community takes cognizance of these important results that are coming out of these frameworks. Now, to talk about the fact about whether this rating also gives us that leverage for us to access the international market, I think it's an argument that is too quick to be raised. Why do I say it's too quick to be raised? I mean, why do governments borrow in the first place? Why does any government have to access the international market to go and borrow? I mean, you only borrow when there is a fiscal deficit. I mean, this is basic economics. I mean, if you don't have a fiscal deficit, and for that matter, if your expenditure has not exceeded revenue, then of course there wouldn't be any economic sense for you to just wake up and say you are going to the market to borrow just for the love of just going to the international financial market to borrow. So in terms of whether government would want to borrow or not to borrow, it's something that is also hinged on the budget statement that was presented. I mean, the media budget review that was also presented to Parliament not long ago. I mean, remember in the media budget review, expenditure, which was originally fixed, I think about 223 billion Ghana cedis, was revised to about 220 billion Ghana cedis. Then in terms of revenue, I think revenue we projected to hit, I think around 178, 180 billion Ghana cedis thereabout. Then you have the...
Hello, Dr. Bano.
We also talk about other grants that are expected to come in. So, of course, if you are not projected to have that huge fiscal deficit for that matter, then there wouldn't be any need for you to access the international financial market. For me, I am one of the people of the view that even as a country, we should be cautious in our approach to borrowing. I mean, why do I say this? Now, over the years, our major problem, and I keep saying this, has not got to do with government spending, but it has got to do with our inability to raise enough revenue internally. That has been the argument I have always put forth. Because if you look at the data, if you look at the sub-region, I mean, from 2000 until 2021, the best in terms of tax to GDP revenue that we have done was actually in 2021 when we had a tax to GDP revenue of I think, 14.1%, taking grants outside. And the worst from 2000 to date was, I think, about 7.8% in 2000. Now, if you compare this to the sub-Saharan African average of about 33 top economies within the sub-region, they are doing about 15.6%. So that clearly tells you that in terms of revenue mobilization, we've not done enough. I mean, as at 2021, when we had the former Minister of Finance present his budget statement to Parliament, he made reference to the fact that less than 10% of Ghana's over 30 million plus population pay direct taxes. And this, if we want to look at the actual figure, this is about 2.3 million of the entire population, which currently sits at about 34.3 million. So you have less than 10%. And if you are even being honest, this is about 8 to 9% of the entire population. That bears the burden of the entire 34.3 million people. Then clearly you have a problem. Now, one of the things I've also made in addition to this point is that, I mean, in sub-Saharan Africa, not just Ghana, I mean, you're talking about the case of Ghana, but then government spending actually drives growth. Now, that is why you find out that the situations whereby we had to go to the IMF and the government has to put in some austere measures so that growth was a bit restricted. So clearly in sub-Saharan Africa and Ghana, government spending drives growth. So anytime you say government must cut or restrict spending, invariably you are trying to tell any person who understands economics that a growth should also be restricted. Let me give you a practical example.
And please end on that. End on that example. I've intentionally given both of you gentlemen ample time to lay the foundation. It appears you're going on and on. Lay your foundation, and then I shall start punching into certain areas, some of what you said. So you wrap up on that, and let's get into the main stuff.
So I mean, the whole idea has got to do with whether government will access financial market, and that's why I'm trying to lay this foundation. That the problem has to do with our inability to raise enough revenue. That's why I'm giving all these data. So indeed, if we are thinking of going into the future, I think the most important conversation for government and for any stakeholder who is a party and much interested in this very discourse should be what are the measures, what are the reforms that any government can undertake to broaden the taxes? In other words, to formalize the economy to bring in more people to pay tax.
Let me come back to you, Doc, just briefly before I go to Professor Bokpin. So, Dr. Bano, you speak about exogenous factors or exogenous shocks. And I guess especially for this administration, COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war will be the dogs for eternity that you will give a bad name and hang for the economic crises we have experienced. It will always be COVID-19 and the other bits. But he also tellingly mentioned the fact that borrowing must not just be for the love of it. Everybody who knows some economics knows that borrowing is not the problem. It is what you do with the resources you borrow. In our case, the question will be asked, of the 500 plus billion Ghana cedis we borrowed in terms of value now versus the 122 billion this administration inherited, you would ask yourself, did we get value for it? If you're looking at our roads, our road network, if you are looking at our hospitals, we're talking Agenda 111. How many of them will be completed before another administration comes, whether the MPP is retained or another administration comes through? There are so many things you can look at. You can look at planting for food and jobs. You can look at one village, one dam. You can look at so many different dynamics. Would you say we've got value for money? And finally, the point about our tax regime, like you rightly said, we're taxing a few people and taxing them into the ground rather than spreading it, horizontally across the board so that many more people pay taxes and then you don't have people trying to use every means to engage in tax avoidance and even in some cases tax evasion. You mentioned the sub-Saharan Africa situation, but is it also not true that if you look at our tax dynamics, especially when it comes to VAT, while we keep saying, oh, ours is lower, if you look at the spreads, if you look at certain dynamics, we are paying more in Ghana. So is it necessarily that people don't pay taxes or we don't have, is it that the systems have not been put in place to create the right structures? Which is it? And I want to ask you as well, that question from before. Are we getting value for money in terms of our borrowing, if indeed we don't borrow merely for the love of it?
Thank you for your question. I would want to start by in terms of our debt servicing. I mean, it's very, very important. Now, if you talk about debt servicing and government's inability to service debt, which debt servicing or which debt or which money is borrowed are we talking about? To be precisely and straight to the point, I mean, if we talk about our inability to service debt as we saw in 2021, 2022 to be precise, it is not necessarily the debt that has been accumulated under Akufo-Addo that we're not able to borrow. But it's the debt that has been accumulated over the years, even before Akufo-Addo has taken office as president, that has matured, that we're not able to borrow. Let me give you an example. Now, in 2015, the government at that time, I think the NDC government at that time, accessed the Eurobond market. And at that point, the Eurobond that the government accessed came out with a coupon rate of 10.75%. And on the fact of the record, you can refer to the annual public debt report. That is the highest in terms of coupon rate that any government in the Fourth Republic from Kufuor, that was issued in 2007 September till date, that we have ever had. In that same year, Ivory Coast, I think Ivory Coast, has to be precise, had defaulted, I think about 4 years or so earlier. And Ivory Coast has faced the same bond market and got a coupon rate of about 6.87%. So clearly, if you are talking about debt dynamics, it's not really about what the current government has done, but it's really about, in fact, what have we been able to do? Did we achieve or were you able to access the international financial market at a competitive rate? Because that will have it taking in effect in terms of...
Doc, hold for me on the bit about... Hold for me on the bit about a competitive rate. I mean, we would always want the best of rates when going for these foreign bonds and all of that. My question, though, is this. Maybe just clarify for me. At the time this administration took over, was the debt stock in sum indeed around 120 plus billion? Ghana
That is the
cedis.
nominal figure that you are quoting.
And has that figure ballooned to, of course, I know there are currency dynamics in there, exchange rate dynamics, and the value of our currency also plummeting, which has added to the debt. But is it true that where we are currently, we've added over 500 billion to that? Because in any administration, you would still look at the CD, dollar, CD, whatever currency ratios as well, and they will impact anyway. So you can't take out one and say, for us, it is because this has happened. Is that not the case? Is that correct or no?
Yes. So in nominal terms, you are right. But then if you are looking at the real thing, I mean, vis-a-vis the debt currently we are looking at in dollar terms, right? Our debt stock is, I think, about a little over 50 billion USD. So in dollar terms, if you look at both administrations from 2009 to 2015, that is, I think, about $21.1 billion. And if you look at currently today, as you and I are speaking, that is also looking at approximately $22 billion. So in terms of dollar terms, I think on the scale it's almost as far. I mean, the difference is when it comes to the exchange rate differential, because you now need to convert this dollar into exchange rate. That is where you have that nominal figure that you are quoting. But one of the most important things that one will also say is that the time value of money is not the same. For example, what is the purchasing power of 122 billion about 8 years ago, and what is the purchasing power of 500 billion today? So in terms, if we are looking at it in terms of nominal, we may be misled. I mean, it is important that we also factor the time value of money and exchange rate into it. Now, let me come to the question that you asked me specifically in terms of having value for money. And it was on the premise of that question that I tried to bring in the historical antecedents of we accessing the Eurobond market. So over the years, the monies that we've accumulated, I mean, our first subscription was in, I think, September 2007, under former President Kofo. That was the very first time that we accessed the Eurobond market. And then between 2009 to 2012, Ghana never accessed the Eurobond market as under former President, the late President Ivan Fatimus. Then between 2013 to 2016, every single year, Ghana accessed the Eurobond market. So the NPP government assumed office in 2017. There was no subscription, but in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021 was the last time that we went to the Eurobond market, and since then we've not been able to go to the market again. So you look at these trends, then you ask yourself that over the years, these amount of money that we went in for, what did we use it for? In fact, I am privy to the fact that if you look at the current administration, one of the things they had to do in terms of accessing the Eurobond market was to go and borrow at a lower coupon rate, as I said earlier, in order to retire debt that has been accumulated. In fact, the 2007 debt that was accumulated actually matured in 2017. And one of the things that I think under Kanoforiata he has to do was to go for a competitive rate with a coupon rate that was much lower than the rate that we borrowed, I think about 8.7 or 8.85% in 2007, in order to buy back that bond. Again, as I gave you the case of 2014, 2015, I think 2015, we borrowed at that rate, and then another most important thing that has also crippled this country has got to do with the tenor. I mean, in terms of the period that we are supposed to pay back these loans. So you realize that in 2015, we borrowed at a 6-year period. So by 2021, this bond had matured. And then the government needed to retire that bond. And again, if you listen to Korea in that particular year, one of the objectives of accessing the market was to go and borrow to come and refinance or retire this debt. So clearly, if you are asking me in terms of value for money, this has been the dynamic. So it means that over the years, whatever that we borrowed...
Dr. Bano, you're going on and on. I get what you're saying, but I'm just asking you a straight question. Did we get value for money? That's all I'm asking. You're pointing to these... Of course, when these bonds mature, Dr. Bano, when these bonds mature, they will be paid, whether contracted in this administration or that administration. I'm not concerned about that. It is trite knowledge. What I am saying is, did we get value for money for these bond issuances? You say we got them at lower rates, whatever we did with some of these bond issuances. I'm just asking you a straightforward question. Did we get
Yeah,
value
yeah,
for money?
yeah,
Give me
no.
a straightforward answer. I'll go to Professor
Yeah.
Bokpin for his take.
Yeah, and as an economist, I need to do a thorough assessment of what these monies have been used to before I can tell you that yes, no, we didn't get value.
I
for
think
money.
you've clarified that. So now I just want your point on that. Did we get value for money?
To some extent, yes.
Okay. Professor Bokpin, I want you to start from there before we get into the other dynamics of what this means for our risk, liquidity risk as far as this outlook is concerned by Moody's. In terms of borrowing and what Dr. Bannott talks about, bonds that had been issued in the erstwhile administration coming into the Akufo-Addo administration, and what value we've got from these bond issuances, from the sums of money that we had to deal with. Would you say we've got value for money? Doc says to some extent. What do you say, Prof? Do we have Professor Bokpin on the line with us?
Yes, I'm on the line. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes, I was saying that to a large extent, the answer is no. And let me start off by adding this to what Dr. Bannott has said, that, and I want to put across that no Ghanaian should accept the lie that our underdevelopment, our struggle, is simply because we have not generated enough tax revenue. The answer is no. We acknowledge that structurally, our tax to GDP ratio has been low. But then, that has never constrained any government in this country from spending the way they want to spend. It is the spending that stimulates growth. So the important thing we need to ask ourselves, whether we have spent and the spending has come with efficiency, and whether we have derived the much needed growth from that spending. The answer is no. So you see, when you look at it, and you compare that to South Africa, you will see that our performance is our risk up years. But if you look at the spending GDP, we are actually ranking 5,000 with them. So what it is that even though revenue hasn't been out from spending, and the difference is the spending borrowing, and there's not practically wrong with borrowing to the extent that we invest the borrowed funds in enhanced extraction capacity of the economy. Then you will get a much needed growth, and your economy is a position serving the principal and the interest. So we are full, and we have not spent them efficient, and inefficient in our public.
Prof, please reposition a little so I can hear you better. Just reposition a little.
Okay, is it better?
Better. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So it is the inefficiencies, the corruption, the procurement infractions, that is what has ensured that we did not get the much needed growth from the spending we have been doing. And so if your revenue to GDP ratio is low, typically if you are living within your means, your spending will be low. But we have not been able to curtail our spending. We acknowledge that spending stimulates growth. But we have spent comparably, but we have not gotten that growth. Let me give you an example. If you compare Ghana's tax to GDP ratio to Malaysia, and you compare that to Singapore, and you compare that to South Korea, you will see that the marginality is not exceptional. So what it means is that these countries, including Thailand, that from 1950s to early 60s, GDP per capita were almost at the same level, made it on the back of efficiency and prudent spending, which has eluded Ghana. Let me tell you something. If you look at the data, this government has essentially borrowed its way into bankruptcy. That's what has happened. We have borrowed our way into bankruptcy. If you look at our external debt, let's face the fact. And here, all the parties that have had a chance to govern this country are guilty. There is none holy. No, not one. But you can also see marginality in the excesses. You can see differences in the excesses. If you pick our external, the Eurobonds, no government has issued more Eurobonds than this current government. No government in our history. Look, you check the data. The total Eurobond stock from Nkrumah's, from President Kufuor's era to 2016, and compare Eurobond issuance after 2016, this government has the outstanding record. All government, including the NDC government, also had a chance to retire certain Eurobonds that were issued by previous governments. The first Eurobond that was issued by President Kufuor.
That's not true. 2007 was the first time we assessed the Eurobond market. And that bond market was in 2017. 2017, the NDC never retired Eurobond. No, I just want to put that fact across that is false, if you say so, okay, with the Eurobond.
There was sinking fund, okay, towards the first retirement of the first Eurobond. And it's not only Eurobond. Government retire debts as they mature. So there are debts that the current government will retire that were taken by a previous government, and the previous government would have also retired certain debts, some components, if not all of them, that were issued by previous government. So when we look at public debt, we look at them in cumulative terms. So no government can claim ownership as the one that has retired other government debt. All governments that have been in power have had a chance to retire debt as they mature or retire them, okay, through liability management. So that is just the point that I'm trying to make, okay? Then again, when you look at total debt, it is the responsibility of government to manage the economy prudently and maintain stable exchange rate as part of its debt management strategy. So you cannot run away from the valuation effect. You cannot. The implication of the improper management of the economy, which has also escalated the exchange rate, is what walked Ghana into a liquidity problem towards 2022, for which reason it manifested in solvency problems for which we had to restructure our debt.
Okay.
What happened in the case of Ghana, Ben, was more of a liquidity constraint rather than solvency challenges. Because if you look at even our Eurobonds and you look at the maturity profile of our Eurobond, there would have been no compelling reason to restructure them because the repayments from 2026 and the rest of them were largely not a problem. It was the liquidity issue that because the spending did not inure to the benefit of the economy, we could not enhance the cash flow generating capacity of the economy to be able to service our debt. And therefore, debt servicing alone was taking more than 75% of our tax revenue.
Right.
We were not even talking about the principal repayment. So those are the dynamics. We cannot run away from that.
All right.
Even though exogenous factors have been present, let me tell you something. Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Kenya, in the first quarter of this year, went to the international capital market. The external factors did not exempt them. So let's face the fact. And then also bear this in mind. COVID year, Ghana's expenditure to GDP was one of the highest in the whole of Africa. That is not to suggest that COVID only happened in Ghana. So it's our response, our desire to abuse the system, take advantage of crisis, make money for ourselves through procurement infractions and the corruptions embedded in our public expenditure management. This is what has brought us here. Colleagues,
okay.
Let's face the fact.
Right, and on the back of COVID, we did get in excess of 21 billion Ghana cedis in terms of, boons from South Korea, other entities, among others. I do not know whom I have lost. Professor Bokpin, are you still on the line? Do we have Professor Bokpin on the line? Dr. Bano, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, so we'll try to get Prof. Bokpin. I wanted to get his final thoughts. In fact, both of you gentlemen, as we conclude, this will be the final point, and then maybe you can share any add-on thoughts. So if you look at our debt restructuring, especially externally, in terms of nominal value, when it comes to our debt, it has reduced the debt by, and reduced I use in quotation marks, by some 37%. So by $5 billion, if you want to put it that way. So we are left with about some $4.3 billion. How much of an impact did this have on this rating by Moody's, and what does it signify moving forward? You have about a minute to summarize on those thoughts.
Okay, let me please touch on a few things that Prof. Bokpin touched on. I find it a bit misleading, so it's very important that I clarify. Now, when Prof.
Yes, but we have limited time, so please make it very brief.
But it's important. This is economics, so it's important I make this clarification because you have a very big listener, and it's important. See, aside what the money is being used for when you go to borrow, the two other most important factors is the tenor, which is the number of years you have to repay the money, and two, the coupon rate. So if you are borrowing at a much coupon rate, for example, if I go to a bank and borrow 1,000 Ghana at an interest rate of 10.5%, and another person goes to that same bank and borrow 100,000 Ghana cedis at an interest rate of 8%, there's simple mathematics between you and me who has been shortchanged in terms of borrowing from that market. It is the one who borrowed 1,000 Ghana cedis and is going to pay an interest rate of 10.75%.
Okay, Dr. Bano.
At a much lower rate. So clearly, that argument that he did does not even hold.
Okay, Dr. Bano, can you do me a favor? I'm sure you want Professor Bokpin to hear what you're saying. He went off the line. Yeah. He has to go lecture, and he has just a few minutes. So please indulge me. Let me bring him back. He'll summarize and then leave, and then you can continue, please, if that works for you.
Okay, that's
all
fine.
right. Professor Bokpin, welcome back onto the conversation.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
So your final words, I just made mention of the fact that in terms of our external debt restructuring, now on the back of that, I'm sure Moody's has also acted. 37% was taken off our debt stock, so to speak, about the equivalent of about $5 billion. We are left with $4.3 billion. What will be the impact of that? What does it mean for our economy going forward? Your final words on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that for the period that the IMF program is in force, we have considerable fiscal space for the program to deliver on its objectives. But typically for borrowing, for economic management, you are looking at both the immediate, the medium, and the long term. So, because if the medium, the long term out is not positive that much, there are heads, then it clouds that we are moderating the short term. Let me give you an example.
Prof, please reposition slightly. Reposition slightly for me.
Yes. If you look at the restructuring of the domestic debt, they released our plans in between 2023 and 2026. From 2027, 2028, we have bullet payments averaging 33.5 billion 2027, 2028. Then when you look at how the external debt, again, they are classing in the period that we have the IMF reported up to 26. Again, what is that after 26, the headwinds stronger. And it wakes it up. When you again look at the energy sector shortfall, and then you look at all the fiscal triggers, it doesn't give you enough comfort that the long-term outlook presents a fiscal sustainability pathway. And I think the IMF knows, and government should also know that the short-term gains may not be sustainable. That is the point that I'm trying to make. Because when you go to the international capital market, you are going for long-term capital. Long-term capital means that the outlook must match the maturity largely. So we've made some gains, and don't forget, we cannot say this is an achievement, that you borrowed, you failed to pay, You punish pensioners, took their coupons, restructured their principal. You cannot pop champagne over that. We should feel sorry for ourselves. But of course, that is the sacrifice investors, pensioners have to make for this country to have a fresh start. Never in our history should we go take investors through this again.
Prof, we're so grateful for your time. Thank you for reconnecting, and we wish you the best of the day. Dr. Bano, please go back to your initial. I'm sorry I had to truncate your train of thought, but we had on for just a little window.
The point I was making is, I mean, to any economist who tells you that every government has borrowed, and for that matter, it shouldn't be an excuse. And I was making the point that that is very misleading. It is misleading with a classical example I just gave you, that if I go to a bank and borrow 1,000 Ghana cedis at an exorbitant interest rate of, let's say, 11%, and I'm supposed to pay that money back in, let's say, 2 months, and you go to the same bank and borrow 100,000 Ghana cedis at an interest rate of about 5%, and you are given 6 years to pay that amount of money, between myself and you, who has been shortchanged? Of course, it's me who has been shortchanged. So if any economist talks about the fact that every government has borrowed, then clearly whoever is making that argument does not understand these dynamics. That is the first point that I wanted to put across there. Then the next most important point that I want to put across is that, I mean, this is not the very first time that we've done debt restructuring as a country. I think we did some during Bush's time. I think 1969 we did. In 2001, when President Kufuor assumed office, we did what we call the Government of Ghana Index-Linked Fund in 2001, where President Kufuor said there was a need to restructure all government instruments, not growing to match the growth rate of I think about 5% there about that year. And if you read the literature and the reports from DOD, that singular objective is one of the reasons why we have a very strong financial system in terms of the market, stock exchange and the rest in Ghana, and the facts are there for you to do. So clearly, I mean, no one is happy that government has restructured debt. Clearly not. As an economist, I can't be proud of that. But I mean, the times necessitated the need to undertake such an audacious venture. But in going forward, and I have said that in going forward, to make sure that such occurrences do not happen again as far as the governance of this country is concerned. For me, the panacea is for us to focus on revenue mobilization. And Prof also made reference to South Africa and Malaysia, and I also think that argument is even flawed in the first place. Why? Now, these countries that he makes reference to, these are countries when it comes to public goods and services. Classical example, it's roads. Classical example, it's infrastructure. These countries do not have a huge deficit in terms of these public goods and services. And for that matter, when these countries borrow, it goes directly into activities that the ordinary Ghanaian or the ordinary citizen on the street will see results. But when you come to Ghana and most sub-Saharan African countries, because there is a huge infrastructural deficit, so in many a time, when government borrows, it goes into providing these infrastructure. Again, another thing that has also taken a chunk of the revenue that we have mobilized over the year, not just this government, has got to do with payment of government workers. I mean, if you look at the 2024 budget statement, that is the number one item which is speaking about.
You want to bring in the payment of public sector workers. I don't know whether you want to go into that.
No. So I am making a point that what actually takes a chunk of government revenue. And in going forward, we can only ensure that some of these factors are mitigated when government can raise enough revenue. Again, when government can also allow enough private participation in terms of the provision of public goods and services. That is the only way government can reduce its spending and, for that matter, meet the fiscal consolidation that we all seek going into the long term.
Doc, we're grateful for your time. Thank you so much for joining us for this discussion this morning, and thanks for your patience holding for Professor Bokpin. So, Dr. Frank Bano is head of research at the Dankwa Institute. He's also a lecturer at GIMPA. We also had Professor Godfred Bokpin, who is with the University of Ghana Business School. We've been looking at Moody's, positive outlook as far as Ghana's economy is concerned. CAA2 from CAA3 and CA. But what does that mean for the ordinary Ghanaian? The economists from both ends have given their verdict. What does the future hold? Time will tell. Do stay with us. There are more interesting germane stories we're bringing your way right here on the AM show. Investigations will reveal. Over to you, sweetie.
You're still watching the AM show, and this is Citizens Microphone. Now, what are we doing today? A few months ago, we brought you reports of hike in food prices. And now we are hearing reports that the economy is bouncing back. The prices of goods and services are coming down. And we want to do a real assessment of the situation right here in the markets where things are actually sold and bought. This morning, we want to start here in Malata Market, and we'll start with the prices of tomatoes. I remember that 2 months ago, we were selling one fruit of tomato for about 5 cedis. And so let's find out this morning whether indeed the prices of things are reducing, decreasing, or they are stable, or are they increasing. Good morning, Ma. It's saying. Yes, say nyoma bo abafom no krea.
Me pachan toss dey said abafom kakra. Say season emre afini afi. Enti afini so a July, August, September, October, and toss there. Ni time ni ente fupa our market.
Okay, she's saying that it is a season for tomatoes, and so that's why it appears the prices of tomatoes have come down, because it's the season, not because something has happened to the economy. It is here way what on is saying. We're at 10 cedis. And now we're saying. And they say I'm for more because first nanka be way be 5 or 5 cedis. Okay, so this is selling for 10 cedis and this is 20 Ghana. Inti tomatoes ninkwa na aba for mana.
Me pache green pepper. They are ready to pakoshito no. Onu so aba from. Ninya ni toast ne nam. A year. Enti no so aba from pa.
So that is from the tomato seller explaining that the prices have reduced only because it is the season for tomatoes. But follow me. Let's do a sort of a 360 tour of the entire market and find out how these things are going. Right. So let's look at vegetables now. And I remember we were talking about cabbages and onions and cucumbers. Let's find out how much they are this morning at Malata Market. Hello, madam. Good morning. How are you? Very beautiful vegetables you have over here. So, how much are you selling one of these for?
Cabbage depends on the size. So I have 10 cedis, 20 cedis, and 15 cedis. This size.
That's huge.
This size. Yeah.
So this is 10 cedis.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see. So this cabbage is 10 Ghana cedis. And this small one?
5 cedis.
5 cedis.
Yeah.
Would you say that the prices are good compared to maybe 4 months ago?
Previously, yes. Relatively, it's better now. Yeah, yeah. Okay. But we have some of the vegetables that are increasing in price now. That is the cucumber.
Really? The cucumber? Follow me. Let's look at that. So this is the cucumber we have here. How much is this?
So I'll sell this 3 for 20.
Sorry, come again.
3 for 20 cedis. 3 for 20 cedis. Yeah, and the smaller size is 1 for 5 cedis.
Okay. But you said it's going up. So previously, how much would you have sold?
You could have gotten this 3 for 10 cedis. The one that is going for 3 for 20.
You could have gotten this 3 for 10 cedis, but now you're getting 1 for 5 cedis.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think is the reason why we're seeing?
For the cucumber, I think the sun. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All this, it have seasons. Yeah. So I think it's out of season now. Okay. Yeah.
So sorry, something fell. That's green pepper. Oh yeah, this is another one. How much are you selling the green pepper for?
3 for 5 cedis. 3 for 5 cedis.
Is it different from the prices before?
No. For the green pepper, it's the same. Yeah.
So we have green pepper prices remaining the same. Cabbages, which seem to have reduced in the prices, but cucumber seems to be on a rise. It tells you that. Thank you so much, madam. How about carrots?
4 for 10 cedis. Yes. The same actually. Yes.
So previously, let's say 4 months ago, you would have gotten 4 for 10 cedis, and it's the same price now. What if someone wanted to buy just a single one?
I will sell it 2 for 5 cedis.
2 for 5 cedis, and you say this is at a good price?
Yes, it's okay. Because we could have sold this 3 for 20 cedis. That was during the very high temperature. Yeah.
So it's not, would you say that it's because the economy is bouncing back, or would you say it's just that these vegetables are seasonal?
Yeah, it's because they are seasonal. For vegetables, we can't actually blame it on the economy. Yes, it's seasonal.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. We want to bring you the real assessments of the prices of goods and services in the market. Yes, don't worry, we'll avoid you. And we're at Malata Market. So we've done some tomatoes, we've done some vegetables, carrots, sweet pepper, cabbages. Now let's talk to those who sell fish, because it's an important part of groceries. Everybody loves protein. And let me start with tilapia. Some of our favorite delicacies, tilapia. Now, I have reports that the prices of tilapia have remained the same. And let's find out from the people who actually sell it whether this is the truth. Good morning, and thank you for speaking to us. I'm going to speak my home dialect, so follow me. I'll translate. Oba ngwa anyingba enka. Ale edidiva anyingba ale ngono ashi home chai. Mena na moga ashi home ma nyata fair.
Alakpe. Tomato si cha nyama dorani gbaja tomato si a na to mi pona shi olonu kaka tomato si na mala 5 mala 10 sila tomato si poga populago.
So I asked her whether it is true that the prices of things, especially fish, tilapia, has reduced. And she said it's a big lie. And tomatoes, we can say, we've seen a decrease in the prices because it's seasonal. But when she was young, with 5 cedis worth of tomatoes, you couldn't even carry it with your hands. But now, if you don't have 5-10 cedis, you can't even buy, like 4 or 5 fruits of tomatoes. So she said she's about to show us how much one finger of tilapia is and how much it would have cost previously.
Almost 20. She should have a trousseau 20. Almost 20. Naturally says here almost 20.
So she's saying that previously 3 would have gone for 20 Ghana cedis, and now we have 4 for what? 50 cedis. In Kenafi?
Over feeding and she home.
Kenya allow duna.
Over feeding and she home. On my tongue, 10 cedi. Atapla mi plejo, kwa deje mi apla ngwa adu. Kaka gbache na mala 15 cedi ratio. Matangu ya matala plaga dudugo. Amanu vava ye mi kokola dukame.
So she's saying that previously you could have bought this for 20 cedis, and now 1 for 25, 1 for 20, 4 for 50 cedis, and it's so expensive. And the reason is that the feeding of these fishes, that is what they eat, is expensive. That box are they cut me ordinarily cutting me. Cutting na honeni.
Cutting fia size 2,002. Daka 30 size 2. Size 2, 38 element.
1 carton of fish for 1,200 Ghana cedis, and it has 32 pieces of tilapia in there.
Size 1 are 44 for 1,107.
And that's for size 1 carton, 44 pieces of tilapia for 1,700 Ghana cedis. Ka chande na neme plane afi.
Cha, me plane manya garaka me plane. At 1,000.
So at first, it wasn't even up to 1,000 cedis for either sizes of the carton, but now,
Create me play 7 million.
700 Previously, it was 700 cedis, and now it's 1,000 and above. Well, thank you so much for sharing the real truth of the prices of goods and services.
1 cedi. 1 cedi. 5 cedi.
So she's saying that 1 finger of okra is going for 1 cedi. We'll find okra. Hopefully, we find okra in the market and also bring you how much that is selling.
Now, let's talk to meat sellers. I was telling you about protein and how everyone loves their fishes and meats. The people at the heart of this here in Malata Market will tell us shortly how much or what difference is in the prices of meats previously and now. Alhaji, good morning. Thank you for agreeing to speak to us. So we are hearing reports that prices of goods and services are possibly coming down. Last 2-3 months ago or so, we brought reports that there was a hike in food prices. So my question is, have the cost of your items, your meat, reduced, or is it still increasing?
In fact, it has not reduced. It has rather increasing. Yes. Normally, we always say that if they stabilize the currency, which is the dollar, if the government is able to stabilize it, then things will normalize. But the moment the currency is going out, our city depreciates and it affects our business.
So you're saying that the cost of meat now is higher than previously we would have even seen. So show me, for example, how much was a pound of meat in about 4 months ago?
A pound of meat in about 4 months ago was 25 cedis. And now it's 30 cedis. You understand? And we are even planning to increase the price again.
You're planning to increase the price for a pound?
My sister, I'm telling you, things are not normalized at all. And if I tell you, we are highly indebted as butchers here. The kind of losses that we are incurring is very bad.
What's accounting for the losses? Are you not selling your meat enough, or because the prices are high, you are unable to break even?
Yes, because of the price is high. If you go and buy the cow at a higher price, sometimes if you come and you do your calculation, you end up losing.
So how much is a cow? One cow right now, how much will you get it for? A live one?
Look, now, a cow that sells around 4,000, 5,000, around 2016, now sell at 9,000, 10,000.
Wow. The same size of cow that would have sold for 4,000 cedis now sells for 10,000.
This cow, for instance, the meat that I'm selling now, around 2015, 2016, it was sell around 4,000. And now, if I tell you the price of this cow, it's 9,000. So if the government is saying that things are as normalized, it's not true. It's not true.
But we have reports that the economy is actually bouncing back and things are getting...
Never. My sister, we know the reason why they are saying that. We know. We are in election year and they want favor from the people. That's why they are making such comments. It's never true. Who told them that things are normalized?
So the losses that you're making now, is there a plan to, or that is why you say you want to increase? How do you get out of the debts?
This because we are getting to Christmas, December, which is Christmas, right? Probably the dollar will go up again. When it goes up, it will affect our business. You know, most of this meat, this cow that we are selling, they are not. Most of them are not
bred here in the country. So you import the cows. Live cows are imported from where?
From our neighboring countries, which is Togo and other francophone countries. And you know,
why don't you buy from Ghana?
How many cows do we have in Ghana? Everybody want to be in office. Nobody want to be a farmer. Everybody want to be in office. Right? And that's why we are facing these difficulties.
Alhaji, thank you so much for adding your voice to it. So, how about Are you selling the same things for the same prices? Let's say the same meat, the same pound, the same cost. For example, 1 pound of the same meat, all the parts are the same prices?
No, we are not selling it at the same prices. We have the bone in, the one with bone, meat with bone, that the price is different. And the one without bone, that's boneless.
So boneless is the 30 cedis per pound?
No, it's 35 per pound.
Boneless is 35 per pound, and the one with the bone?
With the bone is 30 cedis.
Why is the boneless more expensive?
Because you don't like bone. So if I remove the bone, leaving the meat alone, definitely I have to sell it with different price.
Well, thank you so much, and we wish you the very best. But if you want to say something to the government watching you right now, I'll allow it.
Yeah, what I want to say is this government has failed Ghanaians. They failed Ghanaians. And they themselves, they know it. They should stop telling Ghanaians that things are normalized. Things are not normalized at all. Things are rather worsening.
Thank you so much. So we are still here in Malamata Market, assessing the price of goods and services. Oh, I see a goat here. Alaji, sorry. What about the goat? We've spoken about cow, but we've not talked about goats. How much is a pound of goat meat? There's someone here who can talk to us. Alaji, we've heard about the cow, the beef. How about the goat meat? You don't want to speak to us, all right? So in our subsequent episodes of Citizens Microphone, we'll bring you some other goods and services and the prices at which they're going for in this current economy. In fact, today we heard that Moody's has upgraded Ghana's credit outlook from stable to positive, but is that reflecting in the markets? Is that reflecting in the pockets of individuals who actually buy and sell on a daily basis? This is Citizens Microphone. Sweetie Aboshi reporting for Joy News. Folks, you're still watching the AM show. Now let's bring you a conversation from Be Led for Christ. In the studio with me this morning to get into that conversation is Dr. Kwabena Sensuochre, and he is the founder of Be Led for Christ. We also have with him two doctors actually, Dr. George Ampia, and he's also with Be Led for Christ, the Ghana chapter. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
We were chatting back before we went on live about the wonderful works that you've been doing in the country and beyond. Yeah. So just to bring our viewers in on the conversation, what is Be Led for Christ really all about?
Thank you. Thank you, sweetie, for having us. And thank you, Ghana, for also always inviting us back to do this work. So Be Led for Christ, last time we were here, we talked about it. And we believe in empowering the youth and ensuring that there's a transformation within and without. So what we do is we look to empower youth and to transform their lives, however way possible, using the gospel primarily. And also a holistic form of doing that is through the wellness, looking at the nutrition, looking at their health, using sports, any avenue that we can use to reach the youth, and also through innovation, because we know that today is a technology world. So as much as possible, we want to be able to reach them, bring that global village closer as much as possible together. Okay. And that's what we do.
And that's fantastic. But let's talk about your latest project coming up. That is I Will Transform. It's a high school essay and speech project. You have some partners like Rick Air. But what is this about? Are you asking high school students to compete, write some essays and compete?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Absolutely. So yes, we are essentially gathering students together within the schools, and we provide them some topics that they pick from to do some problem solving. So critical thinking, critical writing, and also essay, and then the speech aspect of it. So we want them to come together and start to figure out, how can I solve problems? How can I articulate myself in doing that? And that will help them to sort of keep that end goal in mind as they advance themselves as students.
Dr. Ampia, why is this important?
You know, the youth now, they are the future leaders.
Mm.
So to build the future, we have to get a better foundation for them. So when we gather them like this, we try to reveal the plan of God in their lives so that they can build on it and get a better future.
Ooh, sorry for that. So let's talk about the details of this. I'm sure you're inviting every school who can participate. So tell us about that. Who can compete? When is it happening? Where is it happening? And what are the qualifications you're looking for?
Yes, so it's open for whoever it is that is interested in participating. Right now, we are starting. The maiden is in Cape Coast.
Okay.
And so Agri Memorial has been graceful to host us a few schools that have been able to participate. We are gathering with them this Thursday to actually look at awarding the first, second, and third prize winners for this contest.
What are they getting?
They're getting some monetary gifts, some certificates, and a few other supplies as well. But as you mentioned, it's all about sponsorship and partnership. So we're looking to get help from partners and donors. As mentioned, Rick Air supply oxygen, they're a Ghanaian company, and we want to partner with Ghanaian companies and entities to empower and enrich the youth and the students in Ghana.
Okay, and so far participating schools are Mankesim Senior High Technical School, Nyankomase Senior High School, Methodist High Senior High School, was it Ebruman?
Yes,
Ebruman. And then Ebruman and Agri Memorial Senior High School. Yes. But that's not all. There's also a conference, the 2 days Youth Empowerment and Skill Training Conference, and you are a guest speaker. What is this Empowerment and Skill Training Conference also about?
Yeah, so by the grace of God, this is a program that SEM does yearly, the yearly crusade, and it's Cape Coast for Christ. So
Cape Coast for Christ.
Cape Coast for Christ.
Will you come to Accra and do Accra for Christ?
Well, this is under Reverend Steve Mensah and the Charismatic Evangelistic Ministry. Yeah. And so by God's grace and also by privilege, he's invited me to speak to the youth and among other speakers, renowned speakers. So I'm looking forward to that. The program is Monday through Friday, the crusades, and many, many great generals will be speaking there. The morning session, we have the youth empowerment, Tuesday and Thursday. So I'll be among the speakers on that.
Congratulations. What I hear is 2 avenues to transform lives, whether it is I Will Transform or this Youth Empowerment and Skill Training Conference. And so I'll give you both 30 seconds each, starting with you, Dr. Ampia, to speak directly to our audience, inviting them to attend for a life-changing experience.
That's great. That's great. So we are inviting the public that they should all try and come to the crusade and then the youth empowerment program.
Right.
Because God has a plan for each and every one, and He's calling us to come and participate.
Thank you. What would you add to that, Dr. Kwabena Senso Ochre?
He's said it. That's essentially what we're here to do. By the way, we are just coming in from Rwanda. We just got in this morning. We were in Tanzania before that, and here we are in Ghana. So we want everyone to understand that the youth is today's leaders, really. And so we want you all to help support Be Led for Christ. And you can find us on social media, Be Led for Christ TV on YouTube.
Right.
And you can also find us on all our social media handles as well, Be Led for Christ.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwabena Senso Ochre. He's the founder of Be Led for Christ. And we also have Dr. George Ampia, who is part of the Be Led for Christ Ghana chapter. Thank you so much, and I wish you the very best on Thursday and the other 2 days for the empowerment program. That is Tuesday and Wednesday.
Thank you.
Okay, there's still a lot coming your way on the AM show before we go. Please stay with us.
Today's contest exercise, Kingdom Filipino Fighter. The stage is set, the atmosphere electric. These are the minds ready to engage in the ultimate battle where every second counts and every answer could make or break their dream.
You can contest with us, but you can never compete us.
Beat everyone. This one all out, no stress.
And for some, it's all about that one word. While others, their hearts beat in sync with every point earned. And for some, the pain of defeat lingers long after the final riddle. The national championship of the 2024 National Science and Maths Quiz this October. Catch all the contests on Joy News, Joy Prime, and Joy FM, and follow the action across our social media platform. Who will be crowned champion? Let the quiz begin.
Best wishes to all three schools.
The 2024 National Science and Maths Quiz is produced by Primetime Limited and sponsored by the Ghana Education Service in partnership with Goyle PLC and supported by...
Let's end the show this morning with the National Science and Math Quiz. And in the studio with me to discuss this is Irene Boache Dankwa, and she's from the Corporate Affairs of Goyle PLC. Irene, Renee.
Hey.
How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And we are all very glad that Goyle is sponsoring this year's edition of National Science and Math Quiz. And I know it's not your first time doing it. So tell me, why are you back now again?
Okay, thank you. Good morning once again. Goyle PLC is back here on the NSMQ platform because we believe in the youth of Ghana. We believe in STEM education. We believe in overall education. So as part of our SDG goals, which is goal 4, yes, that supports education. Yes. And so because it meets our target, it meets our CSR goals, it is an opportunity to support the Ghanaian child. It's an opportunity to support science education generally in Ghana. Yes.
So aside the opportunity to support, propel SDG goals, I'm sure you have some expectations this year. This show has become so loved, should I say a household name. Everybody wants their school to compete and win. What are your expectations from this year?
Right, I'll pick it up from where you mentioned that, it's become a household name where, even past students from different schools are supporting their schools to win or to come tops. So our expectation is that, supporting the NSMQ is a lot of investment. And so we expect the participating schools that they come up with the best. All the times of learning, going to the labs for experiments, and all the time to study must come to show.
Right.
Must come to show. Nobody's leaving any stone unturned. No school should. We didn't come here to play at all. So they should also play on the show.
Okay. Are you offering the winners something extra aside the normal packages that they're getting?
Right. So,
give me a scoop.
Right. So you see, we have the Goyle Bonanza.
Okay.
Right. So the Goyle Bonanza is where a school wins an extra amount of money if they're able to answer all questions correctly in that particular segment. Yes. So once your school is able to answer all questions correctly, yes. Then
you get a bonanza from Goyle.
Yes.
I want to ask you what's in this bonanza.
But cash is money.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's going to the students themselves, not the school.
No, to the students who competed for their school.
Okay.
Yes. Cash.
Hey, I like the way they say cash.
Yes, cash.
Anyway, Renee, we have to go, but let me give you the opportunity to speak directly to our audience like I like to do. Tell them to watch out for NSMQ and how Goyle Super XP, like you're wearing in your shirt, is making a huge difference this year round.
That's right. Thank you very much. So Goyle PLC is out with Goyle XP, which is another choice we're giving to our customers when they visit our stations. So our new theme this year is good energy with quality choices on the road. So when you visit our stations, you have options of whether to purchase the Goil XP or Aron 95 or even diesel. So yes, we are here because Ghanaians have supported Goil, and we have also given back to society by supporting education in Ghana. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank
As
you.
one of Ghana's, should I say, top oil or indigenous-owned petroleum marketing company, you've done so well, and we are glad that you're on board. So that's that for the National Science and Math Quiz, and Goil PLC is a sponsor. This is Irene Boachidankwa, a.k.a. Renee.
Yep.
And she's from Corporate Affairs. She's a Corporate Affairs Officer for Goil PLC. Many thanks for joining us this morning for breakfast.
My pleasure, Sweetie.
Well, folks, that's how we're wrapping up the AM show this morning. You know my name, Sweetie Abochi, and I do this with Benjamin Akakpo. We're back on your screens tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. sharp. For now, stay for Joy News Desk with Faustina Safo. Thank you so much for coming.